everyone. Welcome to the next panel, which is the Vulcan project, a blockchain roadmap to production. I'm Laura Shin. I'm a Forbes contributor, and I also host the blockchain and cryptocurrency podcast, Unchained. To my left, I have Rob Allen of PwC. He is the co-founder and CTO there of their digital asset services. Then to the left of Rob is Don Newton, co-founder and COO of NetKey. Beyond her is Jeff Garzik, co-founder and CEO of Block. And then Jake Benson, founder and CEO of Libra. And we're going to be kind of talking a little bit more about what Meltem discussed in terms of going from POC to production through the Vulcan project. The Vulcan project was launched in 2016, and it's an initiative or a consortium brought together by PwC to help enterprises launch new digital assets on public and or private blockchains. And they've been working on several multinational projects since. So Rob, can you start us with a description of what Vulcan is?
Yeah, thanks, Laura. So about a year ago, PwC Australia and the fintech team were tasked with finding new business models for the big consulting brand. And we've got strong global capability in all things blockchain and advisory. We've worked with the Bank of England and the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We've got a big Belfast-based blockchain team. The Australian team, which has remit across APAC, we're being asked a lot of probing questions from some of our corporate clients saying, what's this digital currency thing? How do we take Bitcoin to our clients? How do we build innovative new products on top of it? And my partner, John Shipman, and I decided that this was an excellent opportunity to service these clients' needs, but with excellent delivery expertise, but no deep technical expertise. We needed help. And the global search went out for partners to work with, and our US firm came to our aid with a program called At Scale, which actually looked at startups and fintech startups to enable them to deliver relevance to our corporate clients. And as part of that search, we found NetKey, Block, and Libra. And one of the things we wanted to do was to bring all these technical service providers together in a platform which we could then deliver this relevance. And that's what Vulcan was. We launched in November, initially for Bitcoin and crypto, but we've moved away from public blockchains, and we built our own private blockchain with Jeff's company. And funnily enough, as I'll say later, we've now gone full circle. So we've got a lot more interest now in how a bank can take Bitcoin to its clients and make mums and dads hold Bitcoin in their digital wallets.
So what's interesting, I think, about your group is that you've brought together some different companies in a pretty smart way. So why don't we learn a little bit more about the role that each company plays? Don, why don't you start with what NetKey's role is?
Absolutely. So we got our start, actually, my co-founder and I, on the early internet, and what we realized is that open systems and using open source was important. And we knew that when we went and looked at the blockchain space, no matter which flavor of blockchain you were on, for financial institutions, insurance companies, even healthcare companies, know your customer was going to be important. And inherently, blockchains are pseudo-anonymous. So how are you going to exchange identity information that is needed between both parties without writing it to a blockchain? And so that's what we actually figured out, was how to do we created a product that works on an open protocol where the users and the banks can exchange their identity and information privately and then still write to the blockchain for the transaction. And so that's the piece that we solved that was important for PwC, was to ensure from a compliance standpoint that KYC was done so that they could then do the anti-money laundering and PEP checks that needed to be done with sanctions, et cetera. And so we make that possible.
Okay, and so Jeff, what about Block?
Absolutely. So Block is an enterprise blockchain infrastructure provider. We have a horizontal infrastructure approach such that you can build blockchain applications either on the public networks, the Bitcoins and Ethereums of the world, or build your own permissioned or private blockchain while still being compatible with those public networks. That interoperability was just so key. And as well, we take the best of breed open source software, we harden it, we build test it, we QA it. And so what you're really building on top of and what we ship is this battle tested blockchain software. And you ask yourself, what is the anatomy of a blockchain? You have a wallet, you have SDKs and middleware, you have nodes, you have analytics, et cetera. And that's really what we provide, that base layer of blockchain infrastructure that allows PwC Vulcan to go to market much, much more rapidly because they know they have that confidence that that software is there. It's been in operation literally for longer than my company's been in existence. This blockchain software has been in production for 8 years, the Bitcoin blockchain. And now we're taking that to market, taking that to some of the largest financial services clients in the world, largest insurers in the world, et cetera, through this fantastic partnership. It's really been a win-win-win-win for all parties involved, I think. And being a blockchain infrastructure provider, we were really one of those linchpins that Rob, John, and his team were looking for. So it was a perfect match.
And Jake, what role does Libra play?
Yeah, so what is Libra? Right now we're the control, compliance, and reporting solution universally for different protocols, either public or private. You might know Libra Tax is one of our original applications for all you taxpayers out there. You may have used our application to help you track your capital gains and losses, but Libra's evolved a lot over the years, especially blockchain is coming into the enterprise. And we do two primary functions inside of this, this full stack solution. One is observatory capabilities, and this is anything that requires the monitoring of the different components of the network. So we plug into the blockchain, we plug into the wallets, we plug into a rules engine. We monitor all these different components of the full stack solution and make sure with the aggregation of that information that your administrators, that anybody interested, even at a regulatory level, can see all these components working in harmony. Now the second thing that Libra does, and this is getting beyond just observational capabilities, is that we're focused on providing controls to certain non-technical business users. And this could be your chief risk officers of the world, your chief auditors, your tax professionals. One is the ability to control the treasury function. When it comes to a private blockchain, how do you manage the issuance of these digital assets? So we have a front-end portal with which that treasury function can interact with the blockchain network, not via command line, but a user-friendly interface. And then the second thing is a front-end management control panel for rules management. And so as these transactional systems receive different users over time and different risks enter the network, the need for your risk officer real-time controls to be adjusted on these networks is absolutely essential. Previously, you would find errors or you'd find risks much after the fact. The ability to deliver what are traditionally forensic, manual services in a much more real-time, continuous manner is what Libra is providing in the context of this solution. So the three of our products work together really well. We're fully integrated, and the great thing about it is that we're agnostic, all three of us, to the protocol and to the use cases, actually.
So let's dive into some examples of what you guys are putting on these blockchains. You sort of hinted at it earlier, but I was kind of curious about that transition.
So let me paint a picture of what we've actually got. We've got all these parts, but Vulcan is greater than the sum of these parts. We have a digital wallet, which is a multi-currency wallet. We have a cloud-based platform. which integrates all these services and builds some additional protocols like payments protocols, wallet interaction protocols. We've got off-chain and on-chain data. We have the ability to call out to verification services and create certificates. So this combination of digital identity, payments, blockchain, and compliance and regulatory reporting, all provided through a services interface, which may be a digital wallet, or it may be a trading platform, or it may be anything else that our client wants to use them for, enables these digital assets, digital currencies to be built on top of for our clients. So innovative new products using all these capabilities all come together. What we've got today is a multi-currency wallet, which you can have your fiat balance and your crypto balance in side by side. We are working on a very exciting bank project, which unfortunately I can't name the bank, but on a remittance use case where we're looking at one of the world's biggest remittance corridors. And the bank itself wants to use our platform as rails to go between UK and India, and amongst many of the other countries for which it has a banking license. So that's a massive step for us, because that takes us into the private blockchain space, but having already proved it in the public blockchain space, that's really, really important. And then we're looking at gold tokenization, we're looking at reward points. All these things can be actually put into the same wallet. And of course, being a platform play, then there's all sorts of other stuff that can be actually incorporated in the platform to manage the interactions, the rules, the controls under which the wallet holders interact. And then finally, we've got a very exciting announcement. We're going to work with Alibaba on food safety and food trust. So a consortium has been brought together under Alibaba and PwC to work on a proof of concept for new supply chain protocols for blockchain. So our experiences with Vulcan so far are being applied to that, which is very far from the digital currency space. But I think it's it's a great example of how these platforms can be applied, and how the multitude of use cases that are being applied to blockchain do actually get categorized and can be grouped, and then blockchain agnostic and open standards and open source platforms can be applied in a similar way across these different use cases.
And just a quick question about that, the supply chain. Is that like tracking the food from the farm to the grocery store shelves?
Yep. So the pilot is looking at food safety of produce from Australia into China. And the pilot products we're looking at are dairy and vitamins.
Okay.
So that consortium contains Fonterra, that a dairy company, Blackmore's a vitamins company, and logistics companies in Australia Post and New Zealand Post, and Alibaba. So it's a very exciting thing.
And I also wanted to ask you, much earlier you were saying that there was interest beginning in at the beginning with Bitcoin, and then that went to private blockchains, and now it's circling back.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear about that evolution.
It surprised us as well, because, and I'll stop talking in a second, guys, sorry. Quickly, the APAC region for which we cover, I think everyone here knows, there's a huge surge of interest in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin. I mean, just look at the prices at the moment. And I think about 2 or 3 months ago, we started to get a lot more interest. Word had got out that we were providing this layer of kind of validation and legitimacy on top of Bitcoin. And a number of banks came to us and started that conversation again. So that's just picking up now. And it's not just Asia, India as well, post-demonetization. The monetary authorities, Singapore are interested, Japan, and People's Bank of China as well. So the benefit of PwC is that we have the brand and we have the trust, and then we can kind of get into conversations and meetings that are otherwise we may not be able to do, and introduce these guys there.
And Dawn, did you want to add to that?
I did, just to bring up that experience, from back in the early internet. Banks were pretty vocal with the internet in that they loved the tech, but they were only going to use it internally and do intranets, and now they take photographs as deposits. And so, when you think about it, when you're talking about large financial institutions that are responsible to customers, that's huge risk and compliance issues. So when they first heard of Bitcoin, I think there was that rush that, wow, this is something new and it's something that can be incredibly powerful. And then when they stopped to think about the risk and compliance, they said, yes, but, and moved back into, doing it privately where they could have full control. And then when they found out about PwC, who are the global compliance, audit company in the world, is all of a sudden having that with a product that's on the Bitcoin blockchain, that's on the Ethereum blockchain, that it's all open source and supported, with compliance on the front end to onboarding and compliance on the back end to do the reporting. That was a full win. Mm-hmm. And now the banks are, again, flocking to it because they've seen that PwC is leading and has a support team that can actually make that possible, that they can go into new markets and have a broader reach in the open, permissionless blockchains that are out there.
So I wanted to ask you about that. What are the challenges in doing things like, compliance and KYC, AML on a public blockchain versus private? And, how did you overcome those?
So we'll do both. So
yeah, both of you should definitely answer.
With us, since we wanted to by design be blockchain agnostic, so we use a protocol where things can exchange privately. So when we onboard the customer, we give them a digital identity certificate. So with a bank, for example, they might start with a use case with PwC where they're on the Bitcoin blockchain, but then they might want to do something like smart contracts. Well, Jeff can write on Ethereum, and do a smart contracts. But with our digital identity certificate, no matter what flavor of blockchain they go to use, they can take that certificate. And so the banks can go and then, with each different project, iterate using those same certificates across various blockchains. And that's how we wanted to design it so that that would be possible.
So is it the case that actually it isn't necessarily more challenging to do that? To do KYC AML on a public blockchain, or?
So we're doing it off-chain.
Right.
Our product is off-chain because what our belief is that it needed to be private, like what you and I do should be privately exchanged, and that also leaves the blockchain itself clean, and that none of the coins then have that associated information as it moves throughout the system.
Okay.
And so that was a design decision on our part, was to keep identity off-chain. Okay. And then that enables anybody to do whatever flavor of blockchain they like. So they're not locked into one specific solution.
And everyone really had both public and private blockchain experience. And so, for example, Absolutely. Libra already came in the door with public blockchain experience. And so the compliance and risk and reporting was really perfectly suited for Jake.
Yep. Yeah. For us, I'll tell you really what the difference is between working on a public chain versus a private chain. The supporting processes, the compliance, the reporting, all that's the same either way. But what you get on the actual storage level at the blockchain layer is, on a public blockchain, you have a very limited set of data. You've got a timestamp, you've got a couple of cryptographic account numbers, you've got an amount of an asset that moved, and then you've got a transaction ID. And there's really nothing revealing about that. So there's a lot of work to enhance those transactions with mappings, with private enterprise data that needs to be aggregated before you can fulfill these supporting end-to-end processes. When you move on to a private chain, you're going to find that a lot more data is being stored on blockchain. There's still always this notion that some data belongs on a blockchain, some doesn't, whether it's private or public. And that's really only the difference for us on the technical side, is dealing with the difference in data structures on either the public or the private side. But when it comes to the supporting processes, all of those are very, very similar. And once we're extracted and once we have a normalized set of data that's canonical for us, Libra, then the reporting is just as easy on a public network as it is a private network. Assurance is a different thing, and we can get into that, but that's,
blockchain is really a new paradigm for auditing, for reporting. Previously, large enterprises, they have a quarterly audit. They have a monthly risk and compliance session. Blockchain, and with PwC's expertise, provides near real-time auditing, near real-time risk and compliance. And that is amazing for these businesses where previously they would email Excel spreadsheets between business units to perform their quarterly audit. And it's just a messy, messy process, sometimes literally taking physical paper to another building. And with the Libra solution, the PwC Vulcan solution that's been put together, it's a new paradigm for these compliance and risk departments, and they're really excited about this solution.
I'll add one more thing is when folks talk about blockchain, there's a lot of interest in reducing the clearing and settlement time, and you can look at T+3 or T+X, and the ability to reduce that to T+0 is really exciting. Lots of money can be saved. On the other side, you have these processes, reporting processes that are T monthly, T quarterly, sometimes even just annual. And the ability to collapse those supporting processes to near zero as well is, I think, just as exciting and an obvious side effect of what's going to happen as blockchain matures and gets into production is you're not going to find a lot of manual effort. Not that audit or assurance goes away, but a lot of the manual effort, the painful effort as part of those processes traditionally just isn't necessary anymore.
So when you have a technology that's going to upend processes like these in such a massive way, I'm sure there's kind of a lot of obstacles you need to overcome with the client to get them from proof of concept into production. What are those obstacles and how do you overcome them?
Well, I've been building enterprise platforms for a long time, for banks, 20 years, mainly payment systems. The technology is the easiest part.
It really is. It really is.
Getting through new product approval, getting past enterprise strategy, getting past the group risk officer, building a program of work which incorporates all the business change in addition to the IT change. It takes a lot of time. Integration with legacy systems, end-to-end testing, and then getting the go-live pilot. This isn't agile delivery. This is some big, hairy program delivery. And a lot of incumbents, a lot of the big corporates are still operating like that, although they try to be a lot more innovative and a lot more agile. So the experiences that we all bring, and we've all operated in production in various shapes or forms, is a kind of a consolidated think tank for our clients. We've got lots and lots of different angles, with lots of different expertise, and because we have core skills in our specific areas, and we are greater than the sum of our parts, we can bring all that out of the box to our clients. And we're getting a lot of appreciative feedback from our clients for that. Accelerating into production this year is our primary goal. And I expect us to do it on at least one, probably two fronts.
That really gets to how transformative I think blockchain is as a whole. Is these banking processes, these business workflows that are changing, they literally have been in place for hundreds of years. They were computerized, but they're still the same processes. What blockchain does is it potentially removes intermediaries in a business flow that has been unchanged for over 100 years. It removes counterparties, it disintermediates. And so changing these business workflows at the largest businesses in the world, that takes months and years. And when we talk about enterprise blockchain, it's a great buzzword in your marketing, but what does that really mean? That really means that these largest enterprises at the senior executive leadership team levels are rebooting in some cases, or not just optimizing, but disrupting their own internal processes. That takes a long time. That takes multiple stakeholders, vendors outside, stakeholders inside, to all be on the same page. And so that's really where PwC brings their scale and their expertise into play, is they know large organizations, and they have that expertise in that team to help guide the enterprises through that journey.
I mean, some more forward-thinking organizations are using it as a catalyst for change as well. They're using it as a reason to become more service-aligned, more capability-oriented, more customer-centric. And all of those things with the promise of a disintermediated blockchain-based kind of setup, and being forced to collaborate, being forced to actually share information with their competitors or the companies they cooperate with anyway, is driving a lot of very beneficial change into the markets that we're seeing. Some that are more forward-thinking are engaging a lot tighter than others that are still sort of sitting back and waiting to see.
And how do
And
those types
ultimately,
of,
consumers will benefit in the end from all this transparency.
Absolutely.
and how do those types of conversations start? Where you were saying like the competitors will even talk to each other, like.
Well, it's happening everywhere, isn't it? The startup community is leading on collaboration. Look at us just here. We are an example of this. The DCG presentation beforehand, again, another example. We have to collaborate. We have to cooperate, and leading by example helps. You've got the big consortia that are forming around the world to actually work out how to best apply the technology within their own space. For banking or insurance or whatever. And I think it's the way of the future. And then the technology, the blockchain technology, is evolving in such a way that you don't have to be entirely transparent with every single one of the people on that network. That simply won't fly. But we're working through it right now. And I think the more forward-thinking industries are doing it and will get the benefit of it.
Okay, so to wrap up, why don't we get like one piece of advice from each of you on how you would advise other companies that are looking to move forward from proofs of concept?
Start there.
I guess I'll start. Don't just think about the innovation folks inside of an enterprise. Don't just think about the CTO. Of course, you've got to satisfy their concerns. But before something moves into production, before it can mature out of the labs, you've got to be able to satisfy the other stakeholders. The chief audit officer, the chief risk officer. If you can't prove to them that this world is actually going to be better than the previous one, the project's not going to get approval. So that, for us, for Libra, is precisely what we are focused on solving for all of these innovation lab projects out there, is showing the chief auditor, the chief risk officer, and even the regulator at the end of the day that once these things mature and you can see some of these tools today, your job is going to be easier, and these are actually going to be more efficient, more transparent systems than you've ever seen before. Yes, they are brand new. Yes, there's some new risks associated with these networks that you've never seen before. For instance, how we're going to manage these private keys that store all of this wealth. So yes, there's new risks, but at the end of the day, once you've invested enough effort, these are better systems than before. They're more efficient, and nobody's necessarily going to lose their jobs. Their job is just changing.
Excuse me, absolutely. And I think that 2016 was really the year of the proof of concept. Financial services, they've been engaged in blockchain since 2015. There's been really at the innovation lab level a lot of engagement. 2017 is where it moves up to the senior leadership level. And you have boards saying, what's our blockchain strategy? You have chief CIOs saying, how do we resource this? How do we ingest this new technology? Jake was listing out all the stakeholders that you need to get involvement with. One obvious is the chief security officer. Like Jake was listing out these new crypto facets such as private keys. Those have they make you safer, but at the same time, it's a new risk. It's a new surface that you have to adjust for. And so in 2017, that's really what we're seeing is moving out of the POC and moving to production. And I think that once you do that, you're going to have a sorting. In the venture capital space, you have what's called a spray and pray approach, where they invest in 10 companies, and 8 out of 10 will fail. One will do okay, and one will be that unicorn that you read about in Business Week. And that is the same approach that the innovation labs were taking in the largest banks. We'll do some experiments. We'll see what sorts out. The year of 2017 is where we're taking all this to production. the financial services, they've had the foundational experience, and now they can move beyond that. And I think this partnership right here is illustrative of what you need to take to production. You don't just need two long-haired dudes in a garage coding. You need compliance and risk. You need supported blockchain infrastructure. You need AML, KYC, digital identity components, and you need a global partner with global reach that can take that to the market in a risk-adjusted way. And so 2017 is really going to be the year of taking blockchain to production, and I think that this partnership is illustrative of that.
Dawn, your advice?
I was going to say, he talked about collaborating internally. You know, you started to cover it, collaborating externally. You know, going out and finding everyone yourself that has all of these different pieces, and then having to find somebody that can coordinate all of that is a lot of heavy lifting when you're talking about changing something that's been in place for hundreds of years. PwC figured it out. They picked best of breed. I know of no better, company to go and talk to than PwC if you're looking to take something out into production.
So we're out of time, but Rob, I'm sure you have one last bit of advice.
My erudite partners have said pretty much all of it. I would just say that if you're looking for a solution as an enterprise, go for a plug-and-play platform where you can start focusing on business cases and you get all the tech out of the box. So you can get to market quickly, you can get to your actual business change very quickly, and then let us do the heavy lifting.
Great. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.